Happy Monday, friends. Welcome back to the Monday Minute. My name is Rita Ernst. I am the author of Show Up Positive and contributing author to Culture Impact. And we are talking about our culture repair sparks. And this is week 2 on the word honesty. Now, why is honesty in the workplace so hard? I think one of the reasons that it is so difficult is that in many instances, what is happening for people in your workplace is they are getting pulled back into some of their childhood experiences. So I don't know about you. I grew up with a sister. And when something got damaged in the house while my parents were away at work and my mom came home and then she would see this broken item, she would be really angry and she'd be like, which one of you did this? And we would both point at each other. Not me, not me. It was her, it wasn't me, right? And so we lied. We didn't own up. We didn't fess up. And why did we lie? Because we were trying to avoid punishment. And punishment comes in many forms. Punishment can come in verbal punishment, it can come in emotional punishment, and it can come in physical punishment, right? Same thing. Something happens at school. There's a problem in the classroom. The teacher's looking around. Who did that? Who did that? People are pointing fingers. Not me, not me, right? So in our childhood, when we were in institutions, we didn't feel safe to say that was me, I broke that, because there would always be a punishment. If you owned up to it, it might be like at school, it might be, well, you're going to have to sit out recess because that's going to be your punishment for breaking something, speaking out, doing something silly, whatever it might be. But that was a punishment, and we didn't want to have that punishment occur, so we tried to dodge it. This same thing is happening to us as adults. We're now in a workplace institution. When it feels like an institution at work, right? People bring in their own mental remembrance of, oh, this is how I operate. So it's not that you're doing something wrong in particular that is causing people to be dishonest or not as honest as they could be at work. It is oftentimes these experiences that people are bringing with them, and then how that forms the assumptions they're making about what it is safe or not safe to do. So if we want to have more honesty at work, we've got to combat this institutional setup that people are bringing with them into the workplace. So how do you do that? How do you cultivate more honesty? Because one of the things that we know is we are going to make mistakes. People are going to make errors. Things are going to happen in ways that were not intended. We're going to drop the ball, right? All of these things are going to happen at some point, and that does not make any one person a bad person unless it is happening over and over and over again, and they are not learning from that mistake. So we need to turn mistakes into learning opportunities. And this is one of the ways that we create a more honest workplace, is that we accept, we appreciate, we acknowledge. Now, if you're with me live and you're in the comments, let me know, do you feel safe at work? Just to raise your hand and say, oops, I made a mistake. Look, I work for myself. I make mistakes all the time. It was a long weekend. It was late last night, around 10 o'clock at night. I was literally lying back in my bed, typing my email that went out to all my subscribers today. And when I opened it up this morning, when it popped into my inbox, I found all of the spelling errors that I made that I could not see because I was so tired last night. I had all of those mistakes. I made that mistake. Hopefully people will forgive me. If they get hung up on that, okay, it's water on the bridge. I can't change it, but I don't need to beat myself up about it. I do try to use a tool like Grammarly to help me out to catch those, but even it's not perfect all the time. So, honesty at work. Are you making room for people to raise their hand and say, oops, I screwed up. Oops, this didn't work out right. Because that is how you're going to get more honesty. And this gets into, I previewed this last week if you were with me, Timothy R. Clark. You need to be following him on LinkedIn to see all of his great stuff. His path of psychological safety. Nope. Step number 2, once people have some level of acceptance and belonging, then the next level is learning, that they can own their mistakes, that they know that it's okay to be a learner as long as we are transitioning that into a learning experience. So how do you support that as a leader? You have conversation about that, right? You make sure that the lessons that are being learned are shared throughout your entire team. And not in a way that's pointing somebody out as flawed, but pointing somebody out as, oh, look, this person gave us an opportunity to learn something. Oftentimes I'll be in a store or something, I'll have a request that's kind of a strange or difficult request, I guess, and I'll have a new person and they'll be like, oh, I don't know how to do that, just a minute. And they run over and they get their friend, and their friend comes over to the cash rep or whatever to help do whatever it is that I need to be done. And I say, oh, look, I created a learning moment for you today. I'm not going to get upset. I could get upset. Oh, this is taking too long. But it's a learning opportunity for that person. Look, we each are going to walk through those moments. So how do you be what I am for that employee at that moment? I don't want them to feel that I'm upset. I don't want them to feel stressed out about it. I'm just like, oh, okay, look, learning opportunity. Here we go. Let's see how this works out, right? This is what we want to do in our workplaces. Again, we are combating institutional experience that people are bringing in the door with them. So we have to be very overt in order to do that. Of course, we also then need to make sure that we are demonstrating honesty, that we are showing our vulnerability, that we are owning our mistakes. If you communicate something and it sort of causes a little brouhaha, a little drama in your team, being willing to pull people together and say, my bad. I feel like I did not communicate that well. I want to take ownership for that. Can we just pause, take 2? Let's just do the clip. We're going to take 2 on this. Let's try this communication again because I want this to be right for you, right? That's you being honest. That's you showing your vulnerability, and that's showing others that they can be honest as well. And then what we need to do is we need to invite people to speak openly on a regular basis. And I know I've talked about this before, but it is so important that you have within your team structure and the norms, the operating norms, the everyday behaviors that you expect from one another, that when you are in group and you're making decisions and you're talking through and kicking around ideas, that you always invite people to disagree. Who's not ready to say yes to these ideas? Who's thinking about this differently? Let's get a new idea going. Somebody speak up. Somebody take on the way that we're thinking about that. Bring the opposite point of view in. Bring a new point of view in, right? You're inviting some level of disagreement because that kind of disagreement is actually constructive and helpful, and that's what you want. But it also shows people that we don't have to be in alignment with one another 100% of the time, that we can have differing ideas and still respect, and that I can speak those ideas from a place of being honest of, I'm not sure that I really agree with that. And that is not going to make me an outcast. I'm not going to get rejected. I'm not going to get scorned, and I am not going to get punished in some way. So punishment at work. What do people experience as punishment at work? Well, the fears that they talked to me about when I worked in human resources were things like, I will, like my direct manager will nitpick my work. They'll just start finding all kinds of flaws in my work, and they'll just be on me constantly for everything that I do wrong. And so they'll turn this into a performance improvement issue because they're just going to start picking apart everything that I do. And then that will give them a reason to withhold a pay increase. It will give them a reason to withhold maybe a promotion, to block me if I try to move away from them because now I feel like I can't be successful. They'll block my move because they'll say I'm a problem, and they're going to tell stories about me to other leaders that are going to ruin my reputation inside of the organization. And basically they're going to kill my career here, and I'm either going to end up getting fired or having to leave, and that's the worst possible thing. That is what is going on in people's heads. That is the story of punishment That is what punishment looks and feels like inside of the organization when it is coming from the top. Punishment among the peers. Oh, people are going to talk about me to my colleagues. They're going to turn people against me. They're going to stop inviting me to do things. They're going to treat me differently so that I feel like I'm an outcast. This is what happens at the peer-to-peer level of punishment that people experience. So it is so important that we understand these things, because that is what is at stake in people's minds. So you can see it's going to take a lot of work to calm any fears that people have so that they really feel like they can be honest. So don't flip the switch. It is not a flip the switch thing. We are overcoming some institutional trauma here. We are overcoming personal experience trauma that people have and the stories that they are telling themselves. So we just have to keep showing up consistently. It's consistently inviting people to share their disagreement and accepting that and acknowledging and thanking them for sharing that. You don't have to say, oh, I agree with you, but you just say, I'm so glad you were willing to share that. Thank you. You may or may not need to deal with it, but they demonstrated what you were looking for, right? You have to make sure that you are looking for those learning moments, that you are reinforcing over and over again that mistakes are fine as long as we are learning from them. Let's keep being learners, perpetual learners. These are the ways that we make honesty easier for people to trust and embrace. Because people are not being honest, not because they are dishonest or untrustworthy, but because they do not trust the system and institution will not punish them if they are honest, especially when they've made a mistake. Or when a relationship is on the line. I hope this Monday Minute has been very helpful to you. Please, please, please think about these things this week. And if you need some help about how to put them into action, hit me up. I'm happy to chat. Have a good week. Bye.